So, did you click on this video because you were supposed to be studying, but now you're procrastinating here on YouTube? Be honest, I see you. I used to be the same. I've been the same. Laptop open, books out, my highlighter was ready, but 30 minutes later, I'm watching random videos on how to study. And look, I don't blame you because here's the reality. School teaches you subjects, but no one ever sits you down and teaches you how to learn and how to enjoy the process. No one teaches you how to focus, how to stay consistent, or how to make studying something you don't absolutely dread, because you shouldn't. It's actually something that's gonna help you grow, nurture, and become the best version of yourself. I was the same. I'd keep my laptop open so it looked like I was studying, just so my mom wouldn't question me. But in reality, I had another tab open with movies or random shows playing in the background. My phone would be right there and my book would be open. But trust me, nothing academic was happening there. And it's crazy because when you're supposed to be studying, suddenly everything else in the world becomes much more interesting. Shows that I would have never cared to watch became binge-worthy, and you'll find yourself hooked on finishing a series that you didn't even know existed 5 minutes ago before you decided to open your book and start studying. And it happens to the best of us, everyone, and that's why you've clicked on this video too. And that's why today I want to give you what I wish someone had given me, the ultimate student game plan. Not just study more or don't cram, but real strategies. Things that actually rewire how you approach your studies so you can perform better and enjoy the process as well. Because, life is too short not to enjoy what you're doing. So class is in session, girls and boys. I have my little book here just to add to the vibe, and I know a lot of you watching are somewhere between high school and school. Maybe some of you are in university too. I've been there and it's been a minute, but I remember exactly what it feels like to stare at a textbook and want to teleport out of the room in this world. In fact, along the way, especially in university, I learned a handful of techniques that genuinely changed my grades, my stress levels, and my outlook to study. So I wanted to take my time with this video, actually research a few more evidence-based methods like I always do, stack them up with what worked for me, and make something you can use right away to ace your school or university life. And here's how we're approaching this video. We'll start with mindset because identity is more than anything, and then smart study tactics to move your grade up a level and help you reach your A-star grade. I want you to keep your notes app open because we're building a playbook for you as we go along. So are you ready? Let's start with chapter 1, which is the mindset of an A-level student. Your grades are not just about intelligence, they're about identity as well. If deep down you keep telling yourself that I'm not smart, I always procrastinate, I'll never get good grades, then guess what? Your brain is just following your orders, and your brain is just procrastinating because you've told it that's what you do. You've already told your brain who you think you are. And the best students, they don't start with fancy notes or color-coded flashcards. They start by shifting their identity as a whole. They literally become the type of person who says, I'm the kind of student who gets this done today, no matter what. I'm the kind of person who studies first and then relaxes after and enjoys after. So first tip is small, but stop saying I'm bad at math or I hate studying. Replace it with I'm learning how to master math or I'm building the discipline through studying. Tiny language shifts like that retrain your subconscious and help you in the long run. And I'll give you a real example from my own life. Back in 11th grade, I went from getting straight C's and D's in mathematics to getting A stars in my finals. And this was all within a span of few months. And it's not like I magically became a genius person overnight. Yes, I did put in more work, but something else shifted. I got a tutor who genuinely changed the way I thought about math and I thought about my relation with math. She made me believe that it wasn't an impossible subject. There is like an understanding layer to everything. It was just practice that I needed, and also made me believe that I was smart in math. Like, now I do think I'm a person who's smart in math, not mental math maybe, but generally math. And once that mindset shift started happening, everything else followed with it. I stopped saying that I'm bad at this. I started liking it and I told myself I can get through this. And that tiny identity shift combined with consistent practice, of course, took me from failing grades to genuinely an A-star in, I would say, 5 to 6 months. That's how powerful identity is when it comes to learning anything in life. Another thing I want you to think about is what type of learner you actually are. Sit with yourself and understand this. A lot of us struggle because we're trying to force ourselves into study methods that don't match the way we want to study, that don't match the way our brain likes to absorb information. For example, some people are visual learners. They remember things so well when they see them. Like, I would say I'm a mix of all, but I do remember things like colors and clothes and things people wore. I remember those. That might look like drawing mind maps for you when learning, using colors, watching diagrams, or even turning informations into charts because you're a visual learner. Others are auditory learners. They retain more when they hear information, and if that's you, then try recording yourself explaining a topic and playing it back, or listening to podcasts, lectures, instead of just reading. Even something as simple as reading your notes out loud can make a huge difference. And then there are kinesthetic learners. These are the hands-on people. If you learn this way, you'll get more out of doing practice problems and using every problem and converting it on how you'd use it in your life, writing things down multiple times, or physically moving around while you study. And usually most of us are a mix of all of these in certain aspects in our life. The key is to really combine them so the information sticks from all angles to us. Watch a video, which is visual, explain it to yourself simply, which is auditory, and then write a quick summary to solve a question. That triple combo locks into your brain way faster than just rereading a textbook over and over again. So instead of forcing yourself in that one rigid way of studying, start asking yourself, how does my brain like to learn? How do I like to learn? And then build your system that we're gonna build around that. When you play with your strengths, you stop wasting energy and you start actually remembering things much easier. So this takes me to the first tip, which is for all my auditory learners out there, which is voice note revision. My first tip is something that has saved me throughout my study journey, and I don't see enough people talking about it, but it's voice note revision. Here's what I mean. Whenever I was preparing for an exam, instead of just reading my notes or staring at my textbook, I would literally grab my phone, I'd hit record, and I'd explain the topic to myself like I'm talking to a 6-year-old, or like I was teaching a podcast episode. I'd break it down in the most simplest of ways, almost like I was explaining it to a friend who has zero knowledge of what's going to come in the exam. And the wild part is that when I would actually sit down in my exam, I could sometimes literally hear myself explaining that topic back to me, word for word. I'd remember not just the information, but I remember the tone I used, where in my house I was, what I was doing at that time, and the little examples I gave. So this mixes visual learning and auditory as well. It's almost like exactly when you listen to a song and we remember like the time of our life when we were singing it, or remember the tone of the song, the lyrics. Your brain memorizes tone, sound, and rhythm as much as it memorizes words, and you must have experienced it yourself. And the best part is it's completely passive. You don't even have to sit and study while you're doing this. I used to play my voice note while walking to class, while cooking, or even brushing my teeth without realizing it. What happens is I was revising the same material 5 or 6 times more in my own voice than if I just read it once. So please try this. Pick one topic you're struggling with, hit record, and explain it as simply as you can. Don't worry about making it perfect. The whole point is it has to be in your own words. It's like you're talking to yourself. Then play it back throughout the day whenever you're free, whenever you're doing something. Make sure to tune into it, and by the time your exam comes, you'll feel like you've been living with that topic in your head, because you truly are. And then my next tip is something that I wish I had when I was in school, and that's AI. And I know what you're thinking, not like using AI to do your assignments for you, because there are a lot of ways they can detect that, but just using ChatGPT to study smarter, not harder, because if you're not leveraging this tool right now, you're already behind in this generation. Think about it. Every single concept, whether it's mathematics, it's history, biology, economics, or geography, can be broken down by ChatGPT into the simplest terms possible. And that's powerful because one of the biggest struggles students have is not the content itself, but the way it's explained to them. For me personally, the hardest subject was math, because I never struggled with the formulas, but what used to throw me off was the why. Like, why should I use this formula here? Why does this formula even work? Why does this step matter? How do I know when to apply it? And all of that. And honestly, most teachers don't have the time to break that down to you in a 30-minute class. They have a full syllabus to finish teaching, but it's on you to understand why certain topics are there, why do they work, how do they work, and all of that. That's for you to dissect. And that's where ChatGPT comes in now. You can literally ask why and how until things finally click for you. You can ask unlimited amount of questions, and there's no judging there like if you were to ask in your class. Now, the key to making ChatGPT your personal tutor is just knowing how to prompt it, right? Don't just say explain this and then not understand. Be intentional. Here are some actual prompts you can steal and use right away. Like, for example, for simplifying concepts, you can say explain, insert the topic to me like I'm a 6-year-old, use analogies and simple language. Or for deeper understanding, the why and how, ask ChatGPT, I understand the formula, insert the formula, but explain to me why this works step by step and give me a real life example for when to apply this. So you understand, okay, that's how it works. Now I understand. So you know when to apply it in your exam. Or for exam prep, you can ask it, create 10 practice questions for this topic, ranging from easy to advanced, and then walk me through the solutions step by step, like minute little steps. Or then for essay subjects, you can ask whether it's history, literature, etc., summarize this event, this book, or this chapter in bullet points, and then explain it to me like a story so I can remember it better. You can ask metaphors. You can ask it to explain historical events to you in different ways if you don't understand them, or you can't they can't click to you. Or you can say, quiz me on this topic using a flashcard style questions. Only reveal the answer after I attempt the questions. And here's my favorite way to use it. Combine it with the voice method as well I talked about earlier. Copy ChatGPT's simple explanation, then record yourself saying it out loud in your own words if you don't know how to simplify the concept. Now that you've layered learning in these 3 ways, text, audio, and recall, that's how you make all the information stick for you. You have to start using ChatGPT to your benefit. Everyone is going to, and if you don't, you're literally choosing to stay behind as a student. Think about it. You now have a 24/7 tutor in your pocket. When I was in school, we didn't have that. If I had a doubt, I had to wait until I went for my tuition class, sit through the lecture again, and then raise my hand and ask the teacher why this worked. And she had a few minutes to explain. If it stuck with me, it stuck. If it didn't, then I had to figure it out myself. And half of the time, there wasn't even space or time to go in depth. The internet back then also couldn't explain things the way my brain understood or the way I wanted to. Now you have no excuse. You don't understand a word in your textbook, you can ask ChatGPT, explain this word to me like I'm 12. Why this makes sense, how this makes sense. Or like if you're confused about a history event, you can ask, why did this event even happen? What are the sequences before it did? And what were the causes that led to it? Because this way you're just reading the news and you remember more that way, right? It can break down any subject, whether that's math, science, geography, history, in a way that sticks to you. And when you understand the why for things, whether it's the formula or the fact, they suddenly make sense. You're not just memorizing, you're truly learning. That's when you truly grow. And that's the difference between students who scrape by and students who ace exams. They understand what formula to use when. And the ones who understand the fundamentals, they never forget in their life as well, because their brain actually connects all the dots together. Your teacher might have 30 minutes to rush through a chapter. Your tuition teacher might have an hour. But ChatGPT, it's sitting there waiting for you all night, every day, unlimited questions, unlimited explanations, no judgment. And that's the edge that you have now as a student in this century. If you're not using AI to study, then you're choosing to make things way harder for yourself. Meanwhile, the person sitting next to you in class is probably already asking ChatGPT those weird, simplify, breakdown questions and explain everything to me. So who do you think is going to get ahead and understand the concepts better? Use it, play with it, challenge it, make it your best friend. This is how you'll ace every subject, not by working harder, but by working smarter. And smarter right now just means using the tools this advanced world has given you as a student. Make use of them. And this brings me to my next tip, which is the Pomodoro Technique, but with a twist that makes it work. Here's what I want you to do. The night before, you need to sit down and plan your study blocks for the next day, not just math or history. Be specific. For example, 1 hour on math, chapter 2, because that's where I'm weak, or 1 hour on history, chapter 7, because I have a test coming up soon. Write it down as a list. Why? Because if you don't, you'll wake up the next day and waste half of your energy just deciding on what to do. And suddenly it's noon, you don't realize you have a test and you're stressed and you're like, okay, I have a test coming up, I haven't studied. But you've lost so much of your time already. Planning the night before gives you that kind of clarity. You wake up, you look at your list, and you know exactly where to start. And then here's where the Pomodoro comes in. You set a timer on your phone, which is 25 minutes of pure focus, and then 5 minutes of break, and you repeat that. You tell everyone around you, for the next hour or two, you're unavailable, don't disturb. No distractions, no scrolling, no multitasking, just deep focus in short, powerful bursts. And when I say set a timer, I don't mean keep your phone right next to you where notifications can lure you in, distract you. No, set the timer and then put your phone out. of reach. Literally across the room, take this as a fun challenge and 25 minutes of pure undisturbed focus. And no, let me just quickly check Instagram, or no, I'll answer this text. 25 minutes, that's all you need. Once the timer goes off, then you give yourself 5 minutes of a break. You stand up, you stretch. This way your tasks are more divided. You grab water, you can check your phone if you really need to, but not more than 5 minutes. Then you get right back on your next time block, which is 25 minutes round. And this method works because your brain loves sprints more than marathons. Telling yourself that you need 3 hours of studies is not gonna go well. We all know that. That's why you tell yourself that I only need 25 minutes, and that tricks your brain into starting. It's also like the breadcrumb method. You start with something small and then you want to keep going, and that's where the momentum comes in. Half the time you'll get into the flow and then you'll keep going after the timer. It's not about pushing through all day long with zero breaks, but it's about training your brain to focus deeply in short bursts and then recharge. That balance is what keeps you from burning out. Do this every day and suddenly your study sessions, they won't feel impossible anymore. It works. I've tried it. I do it all the time. They feel very doable. And when something feels doable to you, you're way more likely to stick to it. That's how you start stacking hours and hours of focused work, productive work, without realizing it. Like when I used to study, sometimes I would sit for 7 hours and get work done worth an hour. I could finish that in an hour, but I would sit for 7 hours just procrastinating, I guess. And then that brings me to the next tip, which is for more artistic people, and my traditional tip, which is layered highlighting. One color, one round. So most people I've seen think highlighting is just about making notes look colorful and pleasing to the eye. That's not what it's about. And that's why I see people in the library with pages that look like a unicorn exploded on them. Every single line is glowing in 5 different colors, which is pretty, yes, but it's not useful. Because when everything is highlighted, nothing will stand out to your brain, and your brain can't tell the difference between what's crucial to learn and what's a filler. That's why so many students spend hours revising things and still walk into exams blanking out on what they revised and blanking out on the basics. So instead, I want you to try this method. It's called layered highlighting. And it's a system that trains your brain to actually categorize information while you study instead of just throwing colors randomly. You use one color at a time in multiple passes with a specific purpose for each of them, and you know your purpose. So your round one is yellow, which is your core concepts. This is your skeleton. Your first pass is all about identifying the essentials. Think like a backbone of the chapter, like what the chapter mainly is about. The 20% of the information that drives 80% of your understanding. For example, in biology, you'll highlight photosynthesis, process by which plants convert light energy to chemical energy. Not every little condition under it. In history, you'd highlight the causes of World War I if that's what your chapter is about. And then in math, you'd highlight the quadratic formula if that's what your chapter is about. Like that's the main highlight of your chapter. This is your skeleton. If you only had 5 minutes before an exam, this is the part that you'd want to read. This is what the main chapter highlights. And then round 2 is pink, which is your weak spots. These are like the muscles. Once you build the skeleton up, your second pass is about strengthening them. This is where you highlight anything that doesn't stick instantly or that made you pause. For example, in biology, you struggle with the exact steps of photosynthesis. Highlight the parts that tripped you up. In history, maybe you don't fully remember details of the treaties of Versailles, for example. That's pink. In math, maybe you forgot which trig identity works in which quadrant. Highlight that. Pink is your brain's personal danger zone, a part where like you're weak at. It forces you to focus energy where you actually need it, and so wasting time rereading information that you already know, because we like to do that. I used to like to do that. When I would look through a textbook, I would like to read the parts that I know I'm very good at, like I know I've memorized, but that doesn't help. And then round 3 is your blue, which is your exact recall. Finally, your third pass is the things that you must remember word to word or symbol for symbol. This is stuff that can't be rephrased or kind of remembered. It needs to be exact. For example, definitions or dates like independent days, dates, World War, all of that, formulas, theorems, or chemical equations. This round is like locking in those final details into your long-term memories, things that you need to remember word for word. Now, why this works is basically brain science. Each color represents a different type of memory cue. Your brain loves organization and patterns. Even though you may think it doesn't, it really does. So when you look back back at your notes in like one glance, or like you have 10 minutes or 20 minutes. Yellow cues your brain to zoom out and recall the big picture of the chapter. Pink cues your brain to slow down and pay extra attention to things that was tricky for you, specifically you, like this was tricky for me before. And blue cues your brain for exact precision. This has to be word for word. I have to remember this date exactly. By layering it this way, you're not just decorating your notes, you're training your brain to recognize categories for knowledge. This is called dual coding, and it massively boosts recall during like high pressure exams. Do it for every subject. Keep the color same for you so that you know like these are my colors and this is what it means. And here's how you would do it step by step. This is how it looks for you when you're studying, right? So your first study session, when you're opening a chapter, you read the chapter and you do your yellow pass. So you do just the skeleton, what the chapter is mainly about. Next day you come back and you do your pink pass. You highlight the areas that you forgot or struggled with during like your 1 day of break that you had. And then final review before exam, you do the blue pass. You lock in the definitions, the dates and formulas you need to know word for word. Now when you flip through your notes before the exam, you've got like a clean map, right? In a chapter, you cannot remember everything. Yellow is your foundation, pink are the parts that you need to review carefully, and blue is the non-negotiables. Instead of rereading a textbook like a zombie and forgetting everything, you're more laser focused. Please use highlighters to your benefit and not just for fun. And then at the end of the chapter, like this is like an extra tip, take flashcards and fill them out using only the highlighted parts. This way you've condensed 20 pages into a 1-page cheat sheet that your brain can actually digest and of important things. And then my final hack is again a little mindset related, because what is anything in life without the right mindset? And yes, I could sit down here and give you endless tips, but if you don't romanticize the process, you're not gonna stick with it. So romanticize studying, turn it into your own movie. It's one of the most underrated tips. Romanticize your studying sessions. Think about it, this is a very short chapter in your life and you only get few years in school and university, and even though it feels stressful and irritating now, one day you'll miss it. You'll miss that whole process. You look back at your late night cramming, the library sessions and the exam day nerves, which eventually you won't have, and realize that those were the moments that built you as a human. So instead of treating studying like torture because you know you have to do it and you want to do it, turn it into your main character moment. You've seen shows like Gilmore Girls or movies that revolve around school and college life. There are so many. Why not create that energy for yourself? Imagine you're living in those series. You're the character with the big dreams. You're the character who has really good outfits, hustling for something greater, and every study session is a scene in your story. So here's how you do that. You switch up your settings, you take your books and go outside to a cozy cafe, study at sunrise when the world is still asleep. You think you're doing something extra. Or make your desk look like a Pinterest board. Make a Pinterest board, in fact, with like your study essentials and like your study vibe. Remind yourself that this isn't just about grades, it's also discipline training for you in life, for your future self, and every assignment, every late night, every flashcard you do is a brink on the foundation of the life you're trying to build, because all of this is trying to give you a better life for yourself. Create your own playlist, soundtrack. I used to love doing that. You can find study playlists online. There are so many lo-fi beats or even scores from your favorite shows to watch, and make it cinematic. Make it fun. Please film little snippets, make it aesthetic. Create your own study vlogs like Study With Me. I used to do so many of those. Even if you don't post them, they'll just motivate you. When you see studying as a part of your story instead of just a burden, it becomes lighter. And you're not just preparing for exams, you're actually becoming the version of yourself that you will thank later, like whether that's getting into your dream college or getting the grades you want, whatever it is. And that brings me to the end of this video. I know this is one you guys have been requesting and asking me, and honestly, I'm just so glad that I finally got down to sit and make it for you. A bit of a long one, but I really hope you found it helpful. And if you've got end of term exams coming up, remember this, that it's just a short season of locking in, pushing through now, give it your best, and then when December holidays come around, enjoy. You'll be relaxed. You'll know deep down that you gave it your all. So just a little time of locking in. Your future self, whether that's a version of you in your dream college having the time of their life, or the one who looks back and sees the grades they got and worked hard for, will always thank you for the effort you're putting in. So it really is worth it. Just make it fun as you go along. You know, take these techniques, try them out, stay consistent, and if you want a part 2 with some more techniques, let me know and I'd love to make it for you. Good luck for your exams. Good luck with your studying. You've got this, and I'll see you in the next one. Good luck till then.